Hi, so this is the second lecture for week 8. That we are going to discuss something that we've been probably waiting for a long time. Um, we've already known how to create collections of variables. Of course, the variables were all of the same type. And how did we do that? We used arrays, right? We all know what arrays are. And we also know how to access each variable in that collection. We simply use an index. Okay, this index starts from 0 and moves up to size -1. So if size is the is basically the number of elements in that particular array. We also saw how exactly can an array be allocated dynamically. So let us say the size of the array is, let us say, something that is inputted by the user. Then you can use something like the malloc function. However, what we've not seen till now is that if the collection of variables that we are trying to use, if they are actually of different types, right? So for example, one is an integer, the other one is a float, the third one is a character, something like that. How do we collect these variables together in some kind of a box and then use them together, right? So the solution that we are going to discuss today is structures, okay, and that is basically the answer to that query. So what are structures? So structures are basically collections of different types of variables, right? So for example, in a structure you can have any number of integers, floats, characters, right? So you can simply club them together inside one container. But structures are not really the same as arrays, right? So for instance, all you have to do in creating an array is that you give a data type and its size, but when it comes to structures, you basically have to define some kind of a template, right? So it's not like um, any uh, any you can create any collection of variables together and then start using them. You first have to create a kind of a template saying that, okay, this collection is called something, right? You just name that collection as something, as a template, and then only can you use them, right? So this is a very simple example of that template declaration. Here I am essentially saying struct. So struct is a keyword, by the way, in C, and then this is the name of the structure. And then there are things like int I, float f, char c. So basically, um, I, f, and c are three variables, but their types are different. Okay, the I is an integer, f is a float, and c is a char. So now I'm just putting all these three inside one box, calling the and I'm calling that box as sample structure. And these I, f, and c are known as the member variables of this particular structure. So sample structure is kind of the collection, the box, and this box has these three elements, right, these three member variables. And if we want to create instances of this particular template, this particular structure, right? It's like I've created a particular type of structure, right? So if I want to create instances of this particular structure, I do it similar to how I create any other variables, right? So I simply write struct sample underscore structure s1 comma s2, so I can create as many structure instances, structure variables as I want. It's very similar to saying int I comma j or float f comma k, something like that. So this is a very simple example. I'm creating a passenger vehicle structure. So this is created like this: struct passenger vehicle. This actually has an array called name, a character array called name. And by the way, so it is possible to create arrays as member variables of a structure. Then I have another variable called capacity, which is integer, and I have another third variable called price in lakhs, which is a float. So basically, this particular structure has three member variables, and they are all with different data types. And for this particular example, we are going to put this small template in a header file called car.h. Okay, the reason is that we are going to use it in multiple programs, and it is often a good idea to define these structures in some kind of a header file, so that in any program that you want to use them, you can simply include that header file and then use them. So now we did create those structures, but how do we actually access those variables, right? The I, F, and C that we had in the sample structure. How do you actually interact with them, right? So, but before we understand how they are, how we can interact with them, let us go back to how memory was allocated for arrays, right? So how was it done? We all know that in case of array, an array, the memory was given in a contiguous fashion, right? So let us say if I say something like int arr 5, this means that within the memory, 5 integers are going to be contiguously allocated. So if integer takes 4 bytes, this means that I'm going to get a block of 20 bytes in the memory, and that is exactly is my array. So when we create structures, that's contiguous memory allocation thing is also applicable here, right? So whenever I create a structure, um, some memory is allocated where all the member variables of the structure reside, and this memory again is contiguous. So it's not like one member variable is sitting somewhere else and another member variable is sitting somewhere else. It's contiguously allocated. The members in this block, in the allocated block, they appear in the same order as they were declared in the structure declaration. So in case of passenger vehicle, the first member was that character array. So first so in the allocated block, the first space will be occupied by that particular character array. The next space will be occupied by the integer variable that is defined next, and then the third variable, which was a float variable, that comes towards the end in that allocated block. To access a particular variable, we can simply use another operator called the dot operator. Again, the dot operator is there, but it is used also as a operator to access a particular member. And how do we use it? We simply put it between the structure variable and the member variable. So let us say I created that structure variable called s1 and s2. If I want to assign certain values to the member variables of s1, all I have to do is s1 dot I, s1 dot f, s1 dot c, right? So these are the member variables, and these are the name of the structure variables, right? So this is what you declare, but this is what you created with the help of the name of that structure. So this the actual operations that you can do upon these member variables, they are basically the same as you can do with the individual data types. So essentially, whatever uh, you can do with this particular data type individually, as in isolation without any structures, all the same operations can be applied to these member variables, right? So for example, s1.i can appear in any context where an integer can appear. So whatever can be done with an integer, it can be done with s1.i. Whatever can be done with a float, it can be done with s1.f, so on and so forth. So this is an example where I'm simply creating some instances of the passenger vehicle structure that I just saw, and again, this is the header file that I'm including. So with the help of this, I can now create instances of passenger vehicle. In fact, what I'm doing here is I'm actually creating an array of uh, passenger vehicle structure instances. Okay, so this is also possible that not only can you have arrays within the structure as member variables, you can create arrays of the structure itself. So this essentially is creating 3 instances of passenger vehicle, and then you access them very similar to how you access any other array element. Basically, you use the index, and then this becomes one particular structure variable. Dot capacity, price in lakhs, these are basically the member variables. So you can access it in a fashion that is similar to how you access individual variables in C. If you run this code, this is how you can print the values, similar to how you print values for an integer, for a character, for a float. You can do all these things using the dot operator with the with the structure variable. Now there is one keyword that is often used whenever we use structures, and that is the type def keyword. Now the type def keyword can create an alias for the declared structure. So why do we need these kind of aliases? So usually what happens is whenever you want to create a variable of that particular structure, you also have to write the struct keyword every time. Okay. um, so what people usually do is that in order to create a kind of shortcut, they create an alias so that we don't have to write struct whatever it was, right, sample underscore struct every time. But by the way, type def is not really something that is specific to structures. You can use type def in some other ways as well. So for example, if you want uh, for some weird reasons, let us say you want to call integer integer as the type, instead of just int, you can write something like type def int integer, right? So now from there onwards, you can use integer as well as int to declare to create an int type. I mean that's just basically some additional information, but the idea is that type def is not really specific for structures. It is just a way to create aliases for types. This is the idea, and any non-existing type name can then be used. So it is not necessary that you use the name of the structure as it is. You can basically use any name with type def. It should not have been declared before, so that there is no conflict. But as long as you are using a new name, you can use it something like this. So basically you say type def struct sample underscore structure new underscore type. So as soon as you do this, you can now do something like this. So this becomes a shortcut, right? New type s3, which is basically equivalent of writing struct sample structure s3. So wherever you wanted to write struct sample structure, now you can replace it with new underscore type. So this is why people often use type def, so that it saves their time, right? So instead of writing this whole thing, you can now write simply a much more simpler expression, a much more simpler type name, actually not expression, to create instances of this particular structure. So this is an example of the type def keyword. I'm actually creating an alias called car for struct passenger vehicle, and from there onwards, I can simply use this car, right, as if this is the name of a different type. It's as if it's a name of a primitive type, right, like int char float kind of thing. So once I do this type def, I can use it something like this. I don't need to put the struct keyword or the name of the structure itself. So one more thing that we have to discuss is that copying and pointing to structures. So basically, a structure variable is very similar to any other variable that you use, int, char, float, double kind of variables. It can be copied from one, so one structure variable can simply be copied to another structure variable. You can do that by simply doing the assignment, right? So s1 equal to s2 will simply or s2 equal to s1 will simply copy all the content of s1 into s2. So this is also known as a member to member copy. So all the members of s1 will be assigned, all the members of s2 will be assigned corresponding values of the member variables of s1. And you can already understand, you can see that for this to go through, both s2 and s1 should be of the same type, right? So if they are of different types, then this cannot work. It can only work when they are both of the same structure type. And similarly, you can also create a pointer, right? So all you have to do is simply put an asterisk here, and then it becomes a pointer. And you can assign the address of another structure variable using the same ampersand operator. It's all similar to how we've been using it till now. The pointer variable is, if you remember, for arrays, the pointers used to point at the beginning of that block of storage. The same is true with the pointer variables to structure. they point to the initial address, the starting address of that particular block of storage. And let us say if you have created an array of structures, if you try to add a 1 to it, it simply jumps in the memory by the total size of the structure in the byte, right? So let us say if your structure is taking, let's say, 10 bytes of memory, then if you add 1 to it, it'll jump by 10 bytes in your memory. It's similar to, again, the concept of how pointer arithmetic works. In order to access a particular member variable through a pointer, you have to do something like this, asterisk ptr. And one thing that you have to note here is that I have included this in parenthesis. The reason for this is that this dot operator has a higher precedence than the asterisk operator. So in order to be interpreted properly, right, you have to just put this inside parenthesis. And the rules for passing the structure variables to functions and returning them from functions, they're exactly the same. So you can pass these structure variables either by value or by reference, in a fashion that we've seen in the previous lecture. So this is just a simple example of passing structures to variables. What I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to sort the same array, right? The same array that we created. I'm trying to sort it. Here I have three different functions for it. Um, this particular function compare is taking arguments like this. So this is basically uh, passing by value, right? There is no asterisk here. There are no pointers here. This is essentially passing the parameters by reference. You can see that asterisk here, right? So you can now understand what it is. And this is the example of passing arrays, right? So as you already know that arrays are always passed by reference. So basically I'm just um, sending my cars array to the sort function, and whatever happens here, I can um see the side effect in the calling function, in the main function. So then basically this is the idea. If you sort the array like this is what you get. Essentially I'm just trying to sort them uh, on the in the alphabetical order based on the cars names. So the idea really is that you can pass these variables to functions in exactly the same way that you pass any primitive variable. So there's some homework. There's also some additional reading, by the way, that I have given. We are probably not going to discuss this in the class because it is a bit too advanced. But if you wish to, you can go and read these two links. Okay, thank you. This is to be discussed in the class on Tuesday. Bye.